sub, wait until after the review. Okay. I mean, you can still do it. It just won't pop up. All right. So for anyone that doesn't know, a new expansion's coming out for Hearthstone. It comes out on Tuesday, and we're going to do a card review. We already talked about it a little bit yesterday, so I'm hoping this will be fairly quick. Well, and it will still take a while, but yeah, we're going to do our best to get through it pretty quickly. And yeah, let's do it. All of the ratings are for Arena, so I mean, constructed. Yeah. Anyways, we're not going to jump into that, and we're doing it on a scale from 1 to 10. So this card is not 9.4. I just thought it was funny, so I put the 9.4 in. All right, let's do it. Boom. All right, so Biology Project. Each player gains 2 mana crystals. So this is a Druid card. It's terrible in Arena. It's really, really bad. And I would say it is like a 2. Sometimes you might get it to work, but most of the time, terrible. Terrible. Landscaping. 3 mana, 2/2. So these are all Druid cards. We won't say Druid before each one. 3 mana, summon 2 2/2s. Obviously really strong. I think this and the Warlock one that have a similar effect are 2 of the best cards for the expansion for Arena. So I would say this is a 9. It's just really strong and good with buffs and all of that. And yeah. Yep. Okay. Whoops, we went down too far. It's kind of annoying because some of the cards are different sizes, but anyways, bear with me. Gloop Sprayer. This is a 8 mana 4/4 Battlecry, summon a copy of each adjacent minion. So it's definitely a win more card, and it's going to be hard to pull off in Arena. Also a pretty bad card. So I would say this one is... I'm going to go with a 3.5. 3.5. I keep trying to scroll on the wrong screen. Dendrologist. This is a 2 mana 2/3 Battlecry. If you control a Treant, discover a spell. So based on looking through the cards a little bit, there are definitely some cards coming out with Treant energy. We also have, like we talked about, Living Mana and things like that. So it's a 2 mana 2/3, which is already decent stats. So obviously it's not a bad card, and I think there's the upside is pretty big for a cheap card. So I'd say this card is a 8.5. 8.5. Okay. Mulch Muncher. 10 mana 8/8. Rush costs 1 less for each friendly Treant that died this game. It's just really expensive. It's not the worst card. Like Devilsaur is 2 less mana and is a 7/7 instead of an 8/8. But this could be reduced to be as good as a Devilsaur, like if you played a couple of Treants. So I don't think it's a terrible card, but it's still a bit overpriced. But I still think it's okay. I'm gonna give this a 7. Expensive that died this game, but you'd have to play like Living Mana or something, right? Otherwise, it's going to be kind of eh. I think 7 is fair in Arena. In Construction, I'm sure people pull off crazy combos with it, etc. But yeah, in Arena, I think it's going to be tough to do. Tending Tauren. 6 mana 3/4. Choose 1, give your other minions +1/1, or summon 2 2/2 Treants. So it's a decent spread for 6 mana, and it's a flexible card. The 3/4 body isn't great, but 3/4 and 2 2/2s for 6 with the chance to buff, like if you're trying to go for lethal or something like that. So I think this card is a little better than I originally thought. Still not great, but I actually think a 7. We'll just keep with the same rating here. I think that's fair for this card. Dan's game. Juicy Psych Melon. It's a 4 cost. Draw a 7, 8, 9, and 10 cost minion from your deck. This is terrible. What are those? It's too expensive, 4 mana, and by the time you play, you've probably drawn some of these cards. So I'm gonna give it a 1.5. It's on the shit scale. Okay. Dream Petal Florist. 7 mana 4/4. At the end of your turn, reduce the cost of a random minion in your hand by 7. Once again, this is a constructed card. It will be in Arena, but it's not going to be a good Arena card. Sometimes it might hit, and then you'll be really sad if they hit Lich King or something. But I would say this card is a 3. It has potential, so it's a little bit better than crap, but I think it's pretty bad still. Phlebinus Floop, 4 mana, 3/4. Well, in your hand, this is a 3/4 copy of the last minion you played. Again, it's a constructed card for combos like Malagos, things like that. Not very good stat line, and again, it can hit. It's a legendary, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. I think because it has some potential, I would give it a little bit higher than this, so let's say like a 4, but it's not very good. Floop's Glorious Gloop. So this is the Druid legendary spell. One of the better legendary spells, I would say. Whenever a minion dies this turn, gain 1 mana crystal this turn only. So if you're playing a really zooey, like, token-style Druid, you could have a pretty crazy turn by making trades and then playing a bunch of stuff. So I think of the legendary spells, this is one of the better ones. It's still a bit situational, but I would say this is actually a 6. At least a 6. I'm going to go higher. I'm going to go with a 6.5, and that's not that much higher. Okay. And after the review, feel free to tell me where you think I was wrong, where I was right, where I could have, Anyways, we'll talk about it after. Boom, we're already done with Druid. Look at how quick that was. We're killing it, chat. On to Hunter. Secret Plan. 1 mana, discover a secret. It's an interesting card. I think... In general, just me as a player, I don't like secrets all that much. Obviously, a freezing trap in the right place could be great, explosive trap, etc. But the upside, and you could get 3 really bad secrets offered where you're like, I don't really want any of them. So I think in Arena, this is not a very good card. Not terrible, but I'm going to go with a 5.5. Bomb Toss. Okay, I really like this card. 2 mana, deal 2 damage, and it's not just minions. It can go face. Summon a 0/2 Goblin Bomb. And from what I've seen with these Goblin Bombs, with all of their mechs, and with all of the magnetic effects and such, you might just kill them. So it's another 2 damage to the face, potentially, because you don't want to get hit by the magnetic effects. So I think this card is quite good. I would say it is a 8.5. All right. Venomizer. So this is one of the best cards in the expansion for sure. It's a 2 mana 2/2 mech with magnetic and poisonous. So at worst, it's a stubborn gastropod. It doesn't have taunt, which sometimes is better, sometimes is worse. But the ability to combine this with some of the high health, low cost minions like the 1/5 mech. There are a few minions that are good with this card. To make a poisonous guy pretty early on makes it a really good card. I don't want to get into the witch buckets and stuff because that will make this drag on and on. But I think if you're looking at it, it's a really good card. I would say this one is a 9. Cyber Tech Chip. Give your minions... So this costs 2 mana. Give your minions Death Rattle, add a random mech to your hand. So it's like Infest, but a little bit cheaper. You get mechs instead of beasts. Sometimes Hunter struggles to draw and to get some more value. So I think the card's pretty good. Especially if you have a lower curve on the board Hunter deck, which is generally what I like to draft. So I would say this is like a 7. Because sometimes it will be a dead card, but sometimes it can be game-winning. Fireworks Tech. 2 mana, 2/1. Battlecry, give a friendly mech +1/1 if it has a Death Rattle, trigger it. So there's those Death Rattle cards like the bombs, which are all over the place. But the downside of it is it has to hit on a mech, the +1/1, which is probably, in most cases, the most valuable part of this card. So I don't think it's a great card, but it has some upside. I would say this is a 6. I have to be careful of my voice. Okay, Spider Bomb. Whoa, that was really big. Spider Bomb. I like this card. So it's a 3-mana 2/2 magnetic death rattle. Magnetic death rattle, destroy a random enemy minion. So it's like a kind of like the volatile elemental, except it destroys a minion. And its stats, it is understated by at least 1/1, but also as magnetic. I think this card has a lot of potential, and on its own, it's not really that bad. So I would say this card is like a 7.5. 7.5. Goblin Prank. 2-mana spell. Give a friendly minion +3/+3 in rush. It dies at the end of the turn. So we're talking about this a little bit yesterday. The health doesn't really matter all that much on it. But, it's a way to trade up. And if you're really behind, you can drop a minion from your hand and then put this on it to get a kill on, something big. It has some utility. Also, you have the Goblin Bombs, which are things on the board which can, work well with this if people don't kill them. So I would say this card is still not good. I think it's an average to below average card. I would say this one's like a 4.5. No Arena Day? We'll be doing Arena after the review. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible, and we'll do more Arena. Don't worry, be happy. Da-na-na-na. Okay. Necromechanic, a 5-mana 3/6. Your death rattles trigger twice. So 5-mana 3/6 isn't a great stat line, but it's not terrible. And there should be a decent amount of synergy with death rattles. So I think this card is decent. Let's go with a 6. Boom Master Flark, a legendary 7-mana 5/5 battlecry. Summon 4/02 Goblin Bombs. So the Goblin Bombs do 2 damage to the opponent's face. That's a lot of Goblin Bombs. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's a legendary. I think it's at least above average. I don't want to say it's insane, but I think this card's probably like a 7.5, let's say. A lot of it comes down to how likely it is you draft the mech synergy cards in Arena, which we probably can calculate now since they gave us the buckets and all of that, and the offering rates and things. Okay, Flark's Boomzooka. Legendary spell. Summon 3 minions from your deck. They attack enemy minions and die. So, apparently it's random, where they attack. It can be a good comeback card if they hit the right things. I think it's probably one of the potentially better legendary spells, but it's pretty bad. Like, because if you hit the wrong things and you can't control it. So I think this card... yeah, this card's pretty bad. I would say this is like a 2. Because sometimes, it can be a Hail Mary comeback, but in general, it's going to be pretty terrible. This card scares me. On to Mage. So, Shooting Star. 1 cost, deal 1 damage to a minion and the minions next to it. So, it's kind of like a power shot for Mage. I think it's a lot better than Arcane Explosion because it just costs less and it still works for 3 minions. Obviously, not if the middle minion is untargetable or whatever. Also modified by spell power, of course, which could be really disgusting because there's a lot of spell power cards. So I think this card is quite strong. And I'm going to go with it being a 8.5. Whoops, not 8/5. 8.5. Cosmic Anomaly. Speaking of the spell damage. So this is a 4-mana 4/3 with +2 spell damage. The stats are, it's obviously understated, but it's not that understated. And 2 spell damage is a lot. It synergizes with a lot of things. I think this card is, because of the other cards that Mage is getting, I think this card's not bad. I would say it's like a 6.5. Research Project. Each player draws 2 cards. All right, this is terrible. Like, just in Arena, you don't want to give your opponent cards, and yeah, I mean, if they have a bunch of cards and you're out of them, sure, it can help you, but it's really bad. I would say this one is a 1.5? What is this? What are those? Kind of similar to the other spell damage card. Celestial Emissary. The other one's Elemental too, right? Oops. Yeah. So that definitely helps its value a bit. Okay, so this is a 2-mana 2/1. Battlecry, your next spell this turn has spell damage +2. So it's not permanent spell damage, which hits its value a little bit, but at the same time, normally you just want one big spell with spell damage, and then it dies or whatever. So I think the card's pretty good. Very similar to that other card, the 4-mana 4/3. I think they're close. This one might be a little bit better, but I think giving it the same rating, what I do, 6.5 on the last one is fair. Okay, Meteorologist. 6-mana 3/3. Battlecry. For each card in your hand, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. This is terrible. Cinderstorm, it sucks. This card will suck. It's just too expensive, and if you don't have a lot of cards in your hand, then it's useless. So I'm gonna go with a 1. Dumpster. Okay. Dumpster. Astral Rift. 2 mana, add 2 random minions to your hand. Pretty good. Obviously there's RNG to this, but 2 mana, draw 2. In theory, it's pretty strong. Minions mean you can't get spells and etc. But I think it's a quite good card. So I'd say it's like 7.5. Seems good. I'm gonna draft a lot because I like randomness. What can I say? Unexpected Results. This card scares me. It's gonna be fun, but it also scares me. So this is a 4-cost spell. Summon 2 random 2-cost minions improved by spell damage. So you obviously just saw the other cards that we played, right? Like the other 2 cards that we went through, the 2 spell damage cards. So you play that 2/1, and then this becomes 2 4-drops for 4. On its own, it's not bad either. So I think this card's going to be really good, and I'm going to go with an 8. 8. Okay. Thank you so much, Peach Pie, by the way. I will definitely thank you again at the end of the card review. I'm just trying to focus on the review. But don't let me forget. Thank you for the resub. All right. Astromancer. 7 mana 5/5. Battlecry. Summon a random minion with cost equal to your hand size. This card scares me. This card really scares me. This card is really... So if you have a full hand, it's broken. If you have 4 cards, it's still pretty good. Yeah, it's really good. It's scary. It's pretty... I'm going to go with a 9. 9.4. No, not 9.4. Nothing's ever 9.4. You can't be that good. That's insane. Stargazer Luna, 3 mana 2/4. After you play the rightmost card in your hand, draw a card. So who will be the best at drawing and playing the right card? Sometimes it will go off. A 3 mana 2/4 on its own is not very good stats, but it can be good value for sure. We won't see it that much, but I would say it's like a... Still has some pretty crazy upside, so I would go with like a... I want to say 7.5, but yeah. Could be wrong on that one. That might even be a little bit higher. All right. Luna's Pocket Galaxy. This is the mage legendary spell. Change the cost of minions in your deck to 1. So I think it's really slow. It obviously, if you're playing a really long game, then it could be good, but it takes basically your whole turn. So I just don't... is passing your turn, like, if you're so far ahead that you can pass your turn with this, then you're probably going to win anyways without it. So I think this card is, let's say, a 2. If you have the right deck, maybe it could be okay, but it's not good. Auto Defense Matrix. I hate this card. Not because it's bad or overpowered. I just don't like secrets, and it's going to be annoying, and it's annoying. So this is a Paladin. We're now into Paladin cards. This is a Paladin secret. When one of your minions is attacked, give it Divine Shield. So you have to be careful about what you hit into, how you hit into it. If you're a rogue, you probably supposed to dagger into things first, see what happens. But yeah, it's one of the better. It's one of the better Paladin secrets. Probably the best one that's out right now, currently in rotation. So I would say this card is like a 7.5. Glowtron. 1 mana, 1/3 mech that has magnetic on it. So 1 mana, 1/3 is already pretty good. And judging by the way the cards look, I think it will be a more like tempo-based meta, but we'll have to see. So you playing 1-drops, and especially in Paladin, is always pretty good. And it has potential with the magnetic too. So I would say this card, 1-drop with some upside, probably makes it like a... I'm going to go with an 8. And I'm just trying to think of the ways that the magnetic on a 1/3 is going to be really powerful. Like, you can give things more health, but it doesn't have a text on it other than magnetic. So we'll see. I think 8 is fair, but maybe it will rule the arena. Okay, that's a big egg. This is a Mechano egg. Mechano egg? Mechano egg. It's a 5 mana 0/5. Death Rattle, summon an 8/8 Robosaur. And the Robosaur is right here. Roar, I'm a dino. Okay, sorry. Sometimes you'll lose to it, but with 5 health, it's kind of hard to pop it. So I don't think this card is good. I think it's not terrible because of the upside, but I would say this is like a 3.5. Boom. Robosaur. That looks annoying. Anoia Module. 4 mana, 2/4, Magnetic, Divine Shield, Taunt. This is going to be really good. So, the cards that have Magnetic and Divine Shield, I don't know how many there are, but being able to put that onto like a Poisonous minion or just a high attack minion is going to be really insane. So I would say that this card is... And on its own, it's not even bad. So I would say this card is like a 7. Could even be higher than that. We'll go with 7, though. You guys think I'm underrating the egg? We'll talk about it after. I don't know. I think that card you're going to need the right kind of bust for it. And Silence still destroys it. So, anyhow. Okay. Crystology. 2 mana. Draw 2 1-attack minions from your card. We will not spend more than 30 seconds on this card because it's terrible. We've had cards like this in the past. They're terrible. So, it's terrible. Have a 1, and let's move on with our lives. Shrink Ray. 5 mana spell. Set the attack and health of all minions to 1. So it's kind of like Equality. Kind of. It's more expensive than Equality, but you don't have to have things on the board to make good use of it. It can just be oh crap, I'm losing really hard and play it. But they'll still have the minions on the board. I think it's a good card. Good, but not insane. I think it will still... Because combat cards, swing cards in Arena are still powerful. So, I think this card is pretty good. I'm going to go with like a... let's go with a 6.5. Definitely above average in my opinion. Prismatic Lens, weird card. So, it costs 4. Draw a minion and a spell from your deck, swap their costs. So in the ideal situation, you draw, let's say, a Secret and a Lich King. I don't know, we're just using Lich King today. And then you have a 1-cost Lich King. Poggers! Yeah. It's going to be a weird card. This card will feel bad to lose to every now and then. But on average, I think it's a little bit above. Well, 4 mana to draw 2. That's kind of bad. But it could give you the tempo swing. Huh, this is an interesting card to think about. I'm going to go with above average, but not by a lot. I'm going to go with like 5.5. Whoops, not 65.5. I could still see there being potential for this. And like Paladin's a class where you really want draw. Like oftentimes you run out of stuff and then you're like, rip. Okay. So hand buff is back. Glowstone Technician. 6 mana, 3/4. Battlecry, give all minions in your hand +2/+2. +2/+2 is a lot. So you put this on a chain gang. Obviously, it's going to be pretty insane. It is quite understated. So this is like the same body as the Druid card, the 6 mana, 3/4. Play 2/2/2s or buff. But that's a lot of stats. So I think you'll be able to, if you have a fairly big hand, even though you get a big tempo loss when you play it, you can get it back pretty quickly, especially if you hit taunts. So I think this card's pretty good. I'm going to give it a 7.5. 7.5 seems to be my favorite number today. Okay, Crystal Smith Kangor. 2 mana, 1/3, Divine Shield, Lifesteal. Your healing is doubled. It's more of a constructed card, obviously, like to get healing combos off. In Arena, 2 mana, 1/2, Divine Shield. So Noyatron was that, but it had Taunt. This is Lifesteal. It's okay. It's pretty low impact, I think, though, the vast majority of the time. So I would say this is like a... Also, like, as a legendary, how often would you take this? I'd say this is like a 3. Whoops. That seems fair. Okay. Kangor's Endless Army. 7 mana. Resurrect 3 friendly mechs. They keep any magnetic upgrades. Alright, so with magnetic, the minion doesn't die. Alright, so it combines. So you won't get like the crappy minion that has formed into a bigger minion with this. So you'll get the whatever the best mechs you have that have died. Still very slow. Still quite situational. But, you know, it has upside too, right? Like it could just, in some decks, it could just win you the game. So I think this card is like a... I'm going to go with like a 6. And that might be, honestly, that might be a little bit high. But there's still potential. Topsy-turvy. So you're paying 0 mana for a Crazed Alchemist effect, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to pay a whole card for that. There's worse cards, but I think it's a little bit... Like, paying 0 mana for a Silence, I'd rather have a Silence for 0 mana than this. So, I don't think this card is very good. I'd say it's like a 3.5. Alright. Cloning Device. 2 mana, discover a copy of a minion in your opponent's deck. I mean, if the meta is a bunch of low-curve stuff, then discover Rivercroc for 2 mana. You could discover something really good. Again, it feels like more of a constructed card, if anything. Discover is powerful, though. So I don't think it's a terrible card, because you get a pick. But I don't think it's really strong. So I would say this one's like an average card. Like a 5. Dead Ringer. 2 mana, 2/1 mech. Death Rattle, draw a Death Rattle minion from your deck. 2 mana, 2/1, draw a Death Rattle minion from your deck. So it's like a Loot Hoarder, except you get a mech... Or sorry, a Death Rattle minion instead of a card. Obviously, you have to have a Death Rattle minion in your deck for it to work. But oftentimes, I think you will. With the look at the cards, there's a lot of Death Rattle cards, so... I don't think it's a bad card. Pretty similar value to Loot Hoarder. I'd say it's average. Maybe a little bit below average. But let's go with like a 4.5. I think it's okay. Test Subject. 1 mana, 0/2. Death Rattle, return any spells you cast on this minion to your hand. Right, so when did we start priest cards? Clone device, right? No topsy-turvy? No, here. This was the start of priest cards. Okay. We're on priest, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. 1 mana 0/2. Death Rattle, return any spells you cast on this minion to your hand. You can cycle a Power Word Shield, but you can give it the arms. Like, the arms are kind of cool with this. We haven't talked about that card yet. Like, that they're pretty good. It's not a above average card. Like, it's definitely below average, but it's a matter of how below average. Because you still might, like, people probably will just kill it if you don't have a buff immediately. So I'm gonna go with this as like a 3. Dread should have gotten to reveal this card. Never card reveal, baby rage. Okay, sorry. Here we go. Speak of the devil. Extra arms. 3 mana, give a minion +2/2. Add more arms to your hand. That gives +2/2. I think the more arms also cost 3. So you get 2 +2/2 buffs for 6 mana, but you don't have to play them at the same time. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. +2/2 buffs are pretty useful. So and there should be quite a few ways to get on the board with all these Death Rattle cards. So I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. I'm going to go with a 6.5. 6.5. Omega Lol. We have now entered Omega Lol mode, chat. Omega Medic, the first of the Omega cards. Something of their name, or I don't know. Anyways. 10 mana. Let's try again. 3 mana, 3/4. But if you have 10 mana crystals, restore 10 health to your hero. So Spider Tank body, it's already pretty good. And if you play it when you have 10 mana, 10 healing is a lot. And in Priest, like, it's obviously a good class for it, because in Priest sometimes you've gotten pretty low, and this is a way that you can come back and, outvalue people in the late game. So, like, I think it's a very good card just because of its stats. The upside isn't maybe as crazy as some of the other Omega cards, but it's still good. I'm going to say this is like a 7.5 seems fair. It's in the 7.5 to 8 range, I think. It's good. All right. Okay, Power Word Replicate. 5 mana, choose a friendly minion, summon a 5/5 copy of it. Meh. It's bad. If you don't have something on the board, you can't play it, which is really bad. And obviously, it's good with other Death Rattle cards or something, but it's pretty bad. On average, this card, bad. I'm going to go with this as like a 3.5. It just feels bad. All right. Reckless Experimenter. 5 mana, 4/6. One of the weirdest cards of the expansion for sure. Death Rattle, minions you play cost 3 less but die at the end of the turn. So you play this and they just never kill it, right? I mean, I wouldn't kill it. And then it's just then what do you do? It seems awful to me. Yeah, it's a 5 mana 4/6, but if you have minion, a bunch of spells, maybe it's okay. But it seems like it's just not an arena card. So I'm gonna say this card's quite bad, and I'm gonna give it a 2.5. I think it's really bad. All right. Zarek Master Cloner. 6 mana 5/5. If you've cast any spells on this minion, resummon it. Wait, it's only Death Rattle cards? Oh. Never mind. Let me go back. I thought it was all minions. My bad. Death Rattle minions. Okay. It's not as bad then. I, for some reason, didn't see that part of it. Okay, 2.5. We're gonna do a go over here. That makes it a lot better. Because it can make it still make your hand awkward, but it's much better. Yeah, I still don't like the card because there is an upside to it. It's basically it's going to be a bad effect, but I think it's better than I said. Because a 5 mana 4/6 is pretty good. I'm going to go with a 4.5. That changes everything. All right, okay. Do we have to restart the whole review? No. We're still going. All right, 6 mana 5/5 Xeric Master Cloner, Death Rattle Dreads. If you've cast any spells on this minion, resummon it. I think this card's pretty good. You got like the arms. So like think about the arms, right? Like you play this, you play arms on it. It comes back. You got more arms. You throw some arms on some arms, and then it comes back again. It's a pretty good value card. It is understated, a 6 mana 5/5, but it could be infinite value. And all you have to do is cast like a Power Word Shield, right? So this card seems really good. Yeah, and it resummons it. It's not like it goes back to your hand. Resummons it. Like, you could just never kill this thing if you don't have a way to remove it. So, yeah, I think this card's really good. I'm going to go with a 8.5 or 9. I'll go with 8.5. But I think it's going to be very good. Okay. Xeric's Cloning Gallery. This is the legendary pre-spell. 9 mana, summon a 1/1 copy of each minion in your deck. It doesn't feel like arena card. It could be good refill if you have a bunch of death rattles, but yeah. I don't know. It's not very good. I'd say it's like a 4. 4. I'm going with a 4. I think that card sucks. All right. Lab Recruiter. 2 mana. Oops. What? Sometimes it's a little bit off. Okay. 2 mana 3/2. Battlecry. Shuffle 3 copies of a friendly minion in your deck. I would view this card as basically a 3 mana 3/2 with. I would say there's as much upside as there is downside with it. Maybe even more downside. Because if you play a 1-drop, then you don't want the 1-drops in your deck. And the chances of drawing them in the late game, even if you shuffle 3, is pretty low. So it's fine. I'm going to say I would consider a 2 mana 3/2 like an average card. So I would say this card is very slightly below average. I'll go with 4.5. That's fine. I mean, you'll be drafting a lot just because it's a 2-drop. All right, Violet Haze, 3 mana. We're now into row cards. Woo! Right? Wait, this is a row. Wait, this is a row card. This is the second row card. Okay, all right, we're doing it. Violet Haze, 3 mana. Add 2 random Death Rattle cards to your hand. So I had to think about how good random Death Rattle cards are. They're adding a lot of them in this expansion, and some of them are kind of compared to the 3 mana draw card, add a copy to it. What's the name of that card? The 3 mana. Can't think of it right now. But anyways, it seems okay. But I'd rather get my value from a minstrel or something like that. So I'd say this card is like a 5.5. Yeah, Mimic Pod. Mimic Pod's what I'm thinking about. Whoa, look at the art on that. This Crazed Alchemist drank whatever's in there. Look ass. 5 mana 4/4. Combo, give a friendly minion +4 attack. So Cold Blood on a stick. A 4/4 body. It's pretty good. It is a 5-cost card. So Backstab, you can play it on turn 5. Probably drafting a decent number of 1s. Turn 6 play. I think it's good, but yeah, I think it's a good card. Above average. I would say this is like a 7. Maybe 6.5. 6.5. 6.5, 7? 6.5 seems fair. Okay. Blight Nozzle Crawler. We get some water in here so we don't lose our voice. 6.9. Gasm. Okay. How are we doing, chat? We're hanging there. Blight Nozzle Crawler. 4 mana 2/4. Death Rattle. Summon a 1/1 ooze with Poisonous and Rush. Very interesting card. I think it will be good because it's going to be awkward to deal with this. Like, sometimes you'll be ahead on the board, you'll just hit in, you'll have a dagger equipped, and you'll just kill it with your dagger, or you'll have a ping, but you still have to deal with it because it will kill your stuff. And if you let them decide when they trade it in to get the rush, it's going to be really annoying. So I think this card is really good. And I'm going to give it let's say an 8. I like this card. I like the design of it. There it is. Radioactive. Song, okay. Pogo Hopper. Infinite Murloc is back. Back again. Infinite Murloc's back. Tell a friend. 2 mana 1/1 mech. Battlecry. Gain +2/+2 for each other Pogo Hopper you played this game. Yeah. Someone will try to draft 8 of these. I don't know. Maybe Ratsmer or someone. I don't think I'm going to be doing it. It's bad. It's really bad. I'm going to go with a 2. That's just because I like the art. Look at that Pogo. Okay. Necrium Blade. 3 mana 3/2 weapon. Death Rattle. Trigger the Death Rattle of a random friendly minion. So think Shadow Blade, but instead of the immunity for the first turn, you get to trigger Death Rattle. 3 mana 3/2 weapons are pretty good, so it's not a bad card. And there's a little bit of upside to it. You can plan ahead for when you want to trigger it, things like that. So I think this is quite a good card. I'd say it's pretty similar to Shadow Blade because the face damage that you avoid with Shadow Blade is really relevant. But similar, I would say it's like a 7.5. Okay. Academic Espionage. 4 mana. Shuffle 10 cards from your opponent's class into your deck. They cost 1. So 4 mana is a lot, but 10 cards is also a lot. There's going to be a lot of variance with this card. I probably won't be drafting it a whole lot. I think it's probably below average, but you'll get mean by this sometimes. Sometimes you'll just get destroyed, and it's going to feel bad, and you're going to feel bad, and you should feel bad. But on average, I think it's a below average card because 4 mana is a lot. But I would go with let's go with a 4.5. That might be high. Whatever, we're going with 4.5. It's a fun card. Fun. Yeah, like Deca Memes is fun, right? Yeah, it's so fun. All right, Necrium Vial. Trigger friendly minions Death Rattle twice. Garbage. It's too expensive. It's bad. 1.5. Let's move on. I'm like S. Mira? Probably Mira, not Myra. Mira. Rot Spring. 5 mana 4/2. Battlecry. Discover a Death Rattle minion. Also gain its Death Rattle. So you get value from discovering a minion. You get the Death Rattle, which makes this card, even though it's understated, still relevant. So I would say it's a pretty good value card. And there's some pretty nasty Death Rattles. I would say it's not a crazy legendary, but it's pretty good. I'm going to go with like a 6.5. Above average, but eh. Yeah, I have to play with that one to really get a feel for it. There was Unstable Element. Draw the rest of your deck. So, it's legendary. We won't see it very often, but you fatigue immediately right after you do it. If you're out of cards, maybe it could give you a chance to win sometimes, but it's not a good card. It's pretty bad. I would say this is like a... I'm going to go with a 2.5. Because on average, it's really... Yeah, I don't know. I think on average, it's bad, but sometimes you lose to it, I guess. Beaker Lightning. So, free. Yeah, it's free. Deal 1 damage to all minions. Just kidding, it's not free. Overload 2. pretty expensive. 2 overload for this card, and it deals damage to all minions. Just think about the mage spell that does 1, 2, 3, and you get to pick which side it's on. So I think it's pretty bad. If you're behind, then it can AoE can still be useful, but I think this card is pretty weak. I'm gonna go with a 3. Elementary reaction. Draw a card, copy it if you played an elemental last turn. Really like it. Think it's going to be fun to play with. And there's a lot of elementals, so you should be able to get the effect quite often. So 2 mana for 2 cards. It's really good when it procs. So I would say this card is like I'd say a 7. I enjoy elemental synergy cards, so excited for it. Yeah. I like this guy. 2 mana, 2/2, elemental tag. Menacing Nimbus. I stopped saying some of the names. Oh, no, I said the name of the last one. Okay, never mind. Battle cry, add a random elemental to your hand. So, it's a little understated, but you get an elemental. So, it's really good. It's one of the best cards in the set for sure. I would say it's a 9.5. Yeah, that's right. Better than 9.4. Crazy. I really like this card. I love it. Okay. Voltaic Burst. 1 second. All right, Voltaic Burst. 1 mana, summon 2 1/1 sparks with rush, overload 1. So there's a lot of these cards that summon these rush or these sparks. They all seem kind of. This is one of the better ones because it's 1 mana for 2 split damage. But in general, I think the cards are kind of weak. Obviously, there's synergy with them, but I would say this card essentially it's 2 mana for this effect, which is pretty bad. I would say that it's like a 3.5? Let's go with 3.5. I don't know. Seems kind of bad to me. All right. Storm Chaser. 4 mana, 3/4 elemental. Battlecry, draw a spell from your deck that costs 5 or more. So shaman spells that cost 5 or more. Volcano is probably the biggest one, right? What else are you going to hit? I guess you could draft like the Spellstone. Kind of unlikely. There really aren't that many spells in Shaman that cost 5 or more, right? Yeah, like Bloodlust. So this could very well be 4 mana, 3/4, draw Volcano. So, which is pretty decent. Still, it is fairly understated, but I think the effect is pretty powerful. And normally like a Gnomish Inventor, it's a 2/4. Here it's a 3/4, but if you already drew the spells and it's not, then it could just be a 4 mana 3/4. But assuming you draft, let's say 2 or 3 more expensive spells, I think it's pretty good. I'd say it's like also as the elemental tag. I'd say it's like a 7, not 77, 7. Okay, Eureka. I've got it. I've found it. Something like that. Summon a copy of a random minion from your hand. It's bad. It's just bad. How bad? Pretty bad. In Arena, it's really bad. Give it a 2. Dance game. Oh, baby, another Omega card. Our favorite, chat. Give me more Omega. Omega Mind. 2 mana, 2/3. Battlecry, if you have 10 mana crystals, your spells have lifesteal this turn. So, it's a River Croc. Sometimes it will give you a bunch of healing if you hit them with a storm after it or something like that. Obviously, it's above average because it's a 2 mana, 2/3. But it's pretty situational. It still won't make it any less tilting when it hits. But I would say this is like a 6 6.5 or 7, I would say. We'll go with 6.5. Think of the Omega cards. It's not that bad. Thunderhead. 4 mana, 3/5 elemental. After you play a card with Overload, summon 2 1/1 sparks with Rush. So this is one of the better Spark Rush whatever cards because it's a 3/5, not the best stat line, but it is an elemental, and there's quite a few Overload cards, so I think it's above average card, and sometimes you can pop off with it. Lightning Bolt that, Fork Lightning that. I'd say this card is like a 7.5 to 8. We'll go with 8. I think it's... Oops, not 68. 8. Okay. I like it. I'm excited for the synergy, guys. Synergy. It's coming back. All the synergy. Electra Storm Surge. Legendary Shaman card. 3 mana, 3/3. Battle cry. Your next spell this turn is cast twice. So... obviously good with Lightning Storm, obviously good with Lightning Bolt, good with basically all the spells. Yeah, it's a very good card. I feel like 8 might be fair. Maybe a little bit higher, like 8.5. I think 8.5 is fair. Yeah. Yeah, good card. Won't see it that much because it's a legendary, but yeah. All right, the Stormbringer. Transform your minions into random legendary minions. So we talked about this yesterday. I'm basing it off of the fact that it's minions on your board. Sometimes this will be nuts, because if you have a board full of totems and those stupid sparks and whatever, it could be pretty nasty. So again, I think this is a decent legendary spell for Arena. Worst case, you totem and play this for 1 legendary card and hope you high roll. But I think this card's a little bit better than a lot of them. So I'm going to actually say this card is above average. Very slightly above average, but above average. 5.5. Spirit Bomb. We're on to Warlock chat. We're doing it. We're doing it big. 2 costs. Deal 4 damage to a minion and your hero. Obviously, it's Spellstone synergy. 4 damage is a lot. It can't go face. 4 damage to your face is quite a bit, though, if you don't have healing. So I think it's an interesting card. I think it's a good card. Just a matter of how good. Above average, but how much? I'd say it's like a 7. Because sometimes dealing 4 to yourself will really suck. But, yeah. Sometimes it will be irrelevant, and you just get a Shadow Bolt for 2. Demonic Project. 2 mana, each player transforms a random minion in their hand into a demon. Yeah, it's bad. Plus, like when you give your opponent Jiraxis and you get Blood Imp, you're going to be really sad. It's, I'm going to say it's a 1.5. Okay. Doubling Imp. All right, this is a really good card. So, much like the Druid card that summons, was it Landscaping or whatever? Summon 2/2/2s for 3. There's also some cards we'll see later that synergize with this. And if you hit the buff cards on this, and it's just going to be really, really dumb. But even just as is, 3 mana for 2/2/2s is really good. So one of the better cards. I would say this is a 8.5. Whoops, it's loud. Okay, 8.5. Soul Infusion. Speaking of the buff cards, so if you hit this on that, it's going to be insane. But 1 mana, give the leftmost minion in your hand plus 2/2. So you don't get to pick where it buffs unless you've like played the cards and moved your way over. Sometimes it will be great. Sometimes it will be kind of useless. So I would say this card is maybe a little bit above average. 1 mana for plus 2/2 is pretty good. But you don't get initiative with it, right? I think this is like a 6. How is it useless? It can be useless if you can't play the card. Like if your left-hand card is like a 7-drop, and then you can't play it till turn 8, so it's useless all those turns, right? Okay. Okay. Yes. Void Analyst. 2 mana, 2/2 demon tag. Death Rattle, give all demons in your hand +1/1. So that synergizes with the 3 mana card. Obviously, with a Zooey kind of deck, it could be okay. Only demons, and it's in your hand, not on the board, but pretty big upside for a 2-cost card. So I think it's probably a little bit above average. I mean, it depends on how often you're offered this card, right? Like that buff on that and 2/3/3s for 3 is just going to be nuts. So I'm going to say this card's a 5.5. Nether Soul Buster. 3 mana, 1/5. Battlecry. Gain +1 attack for each damage your hero has taken this turn. So we mentioned yesterday that tap obviously works with it. It's not, you don't have to take the damage from your cards, but you tap and play this for essentially 5 mana. Like even in the best case scenario, you play like the 1-drop 2/1, the Librarian. Then you, for 4 mana, you played a 2/1 and a 2/5. I think this card's pretty weak. In Arena, I think it oftentimes will be a 5 mana 2/5 with tapping, which is not very good. And at most, I would say on a normal turn, you get one extra buff on it. So maybe you'll play a 3 mana 3/5 if all the stars align. So I don't think this card is very good. Oh, gain +1 attack for each damage. Ooh, each damage your hero has taken. Oh, this doesn't change everything. Like, the other thing changed everything. This changes a little bit. So you can play a 5 mana 3/5. So then if the stars do align, or you play like the 2-cost spell that deals 4 to yourself. Okay. This card might be a little bit better than I originally thought. Because with that other spell, right? The 2-cost spell. So you play this as a 4/5? No, as a 5/5. Like, that could be a turn 5 play. Deal 4, play this as a 5/5. Still requires combos to be good, though. I'm going to say it's like a 6. All right. Oh, man. This card really scares me. Like, I feel like this card would still be good if it only summoned... I don't know. Right, so if you have 10 mana crystals, summon 2 copies. So it summons 2, not 3, right? 3 mana for, right? Summon 2. Wait, two copies of this minion. Wait, so does it summon 3? Is that right? 3, right? Wait, that's... Oh my god, dude. You know, the worst thing about this card is the bucket that they put it in. It's not even like in a that good of a bucket. I hope they fix it, because this is going to be so tilting. You know that with how much I stream, at some point someone will play 2 of these on turn 10. Yeah, and you could buff it too, right? Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah, so this is one of the best cards of the set. I'll say it's a 9.5. You do have to wait till turn 10 to play it, so. Oh, jeez. Oh, boy. All right, Ectomancy. 6 mana, summon copies of all demons you control. Very situational card. Only demons. It's not good. I don't want to spend too much time on this one. You will almost never draft it. I'd say it's a 1.5. The Solarium. Draw 3 cards at the end of your turn, discard them. So, if you are playing a Zooey deck, it's pretty good. 1 mana, draw 3. You have to play them on the turn or you lose them. But in a control deck, it's kind of right? I would say this card is like a... It just depends on the kind of deck you're drafting, right? But if you would only draft it in a Zoo deck, and in a Zoo deck, it would be pretty good. I'd say this is like a 5.5. 5.5. 5.5. Dr. Morgan. 8 mana, 5/5. Death Rattle, swap this with a minion from your deck. 8 mana, 5/5 is pretty bad. It's a card that will sometimes be insane, but on average, it's going to be pretty bad, right? So, I would say it's like maybe a below average, but not terrible card. It's pretty bad. I'm going to say it's like a 3 point... Let's just go 3. I was going to go 3.5, but I think 3 is fair. Eternium Rover. We're on to Warrior. Okay, let's have some water. Protect the voice. Okay. Eternium Rover. 1 mana, 1/3 mech. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain 2 armor. 1 mana, 1/3. Good stats for 1 drop. Upside with the armor. The upside normally won't be all that relevant, but it could matter. And if you buff it in the late game, it could be pretty good. So for a 1 drop, it's pretty damn good upside. So I'd say this is like an 8. 8.5. Let's go with 8.5. I think it's pretty good. I think it's really good. All right, Rocket Boots. 2 mana, give a minion rush, draw a card. So you can use this as a removal card with one of your higher attack minions, and you get a card back for it. I really like card draw on Warrior, so it's a pretty good card. I would say 2 mana draw card and effect. I would say this is like a 6.5. 6.5. It's good. Maybe even higher. We'll stick with 6.5. Weapons Project. 2 mana, each player equips a 2/3 weapon and gains 6 armor. So it can be used as an ooze if your opponent has a really strong weapon, right? If you're just using it to remove a minion, it gives your opponent the minion or the weapon, which is not ideal. So it's a cool card, but I don't think it's a good card. I would say on average, it's below average. So let's say like a 3, maybe 3.5. Still, because sometimes like you need the weapon and your opponent doesn't. So I'm gonna go with a 3.5. But it's not a good card. Omega, more Omega. This one is of the assembly variety. Okay. Discover a mech. If you have 10 mana crystals, keep all 3 cards. So 1 mana, discover a mech, or 1 mana, get 3 cards. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. If you have to play it before turn 10 though, 1 mana to get a mech is kind of like eh. But I would say this is like a 9. I'm gonna go with 9. Okay. Dinomatic. Hold on, I didn't make a note. What's the last one? Omega Assembly. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Trying to remember some of the really good cards. Basically all of the Omega cards. Alright, Dinomatic. This is also a good card. 5 mana, 3/4 mech. Battlecry, deal 5 damage randomly split among all minions except mechs. So, your opponent plays a 5/5. You play this, you kill it. That's the best case, right? If you don't have mechs and you have to play it, then it can hit your board, and then it can be kind of bad. No, it won't hit itself. It's a mech, right? Too. So, but it is a situational card. So I'd say it's like it could be a comeback mechanism. I don't think it's a bad card. I'd say this is like a 5.5. Security Rover. 6 mana, 2/5 mech. Whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 2/3 mech with taunt. 6 mana, 2/5. Very understated, but that effect is annoying. So, and assuming it takes at least 1 point of damage, it summons a 2/3. So if you use it with like a magnetic card or... Yeah, use it with a magnetic card, it could get out of control really, really quickly. But on its own, it's not very good. A 2/3 taunt every time it takes damage. If you could like ping it, well, you'd have to like have a way to ping. You're not playing it in mage. It's a warrior card. has potential, but a lot of cards do. I'd say this is like a 5. But, interesting card. There's the bot. That's what you summon. Okay. Super Collider. This is one of the most interesting cards in the expansion, and because we were talking a little bit about buckets, this isn't a very high bucket for Warrior. It's a 5-mana, 1/3 weapon. After you attack a minion, force it to attack one of its neighbors. So it's Betrayal on a stick, and Blizzard obviously thinks it's really good because it's in like the top bucket or the second bucket. I have a hard time seeing myself taking it in that bucket, but I could be wrong. This is a card you're going to have to play with to feel how good it is. It definitely changes the way your opponents have to play. If you think of the Blazing Longsword that was just super broken during the arena event, that card was a nightmare, but that card's way better than this. I think is above average, but I don't think it's as good as they think it is. I would say it's like a 7. Because I can see the potential, but yeah. They rate it as like a 9 or something, and I don't know. I don't see that, but I think it still could be good. All right. Beryllium Nullifier. This is a 7-mana 3/8 mech. Magnetic, can't be targeted by spells or hero power. So it's another one of these mech cards where it's good if you get combos off and use it with other cards. On its own, it's a little bit underwhelming. 7-mana 3/8 doesn't have taunt. People can ignore it. But if you combine it with the right card, it can be really insane. So I think it's playing it as a standalone minion just is going to feel pretty bad. I'd say this is like a 6. Let's go with 6. It can still, because it's a mech. Is that high? Maybe that's high. Maybe 5. It's somewhere in that range, I think. Let's go with an average card. Yeah, I think 5's fair. Yeah. All right. Dr. Boom Mad Genius. This isn't an arena. Chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. It's a cool card, but I don't think it's an arena. The Boom Ship. 9 cost. This is the Warrior Legendary spell. Summon 3 random minions from your hand. Give them Rush. So honestly, when I was first looking at that Hunter card before, and I was like, oh, this is one of the better legendary cards. This is the one I was thinking of. This has potential to be okay, because you get to choose where you attack, right? And if you have a heavy deck, it could be okay. Oh, wait, it's from your hand. Oh. Wait, I was thinking from your deck. Oh, never mind. We have to redo it again. It's not that good. It's not that good. Okay, yeah, okay. It's not that good. Okay, I'm going to say it's like a 4. Maybe like a 3. 3.5? Let's go with 3.5. Okay. Okay, we were wrong. We were wrong. Faithful Lumi. 1 mana, 1/1. Battlecry, give a friendly mech +1/+1. 1 mana, 1/1 is pretty crappy stats, and playing a 1-drop that buffs another mech is kind of It's not a card you play on turn 1, right? It's a card that you save. But saving a 1-drop for a +1/1, Yeah. I'm going to say this is... Let's just leave it at 3.5. Maybe a little bit better, but that seems fair. Card sucks. Goblin Bomb. So originally when I was going through, I thought that this wasn't an actual standalone card. They were just showing us the bombs, but apparently this is a card. A 1 mana 0/2 mech, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. Yeah, it's not very good. I'm gonna say it's like a 1.5. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Mecharoo, one of the better cards. Definitely one of the really good cards for the expansion. It's like the what's that 1-drop, guys? Do you guys remember? Possessed Villager. There we go. Yeah. It's like Possessed Villager. So 1 mana, 1/1. It's a mech. Death Rattle summon a 1/1 Joey bot. So you basically get 2 mechs for 1 mana, and it's annoying to deal with. So it's a very good card. Like top tier. It's It's like between 8.5 and 9. Probably 8.5. Because sometimes like you'll play it into a 1-3 and you're kind of sad because there's a few of those, but it seems really good. And it's adorable. Hey, we don't care about how adorable a card is. This is about if you want to win and how good the card is, okay? Adorable. Come on. It's like having fun. Do we care about having fun? Okay. Skaterbot. 1 mana, 1/1. Magnetic Rush. I like the art. But... it's... I guess you can play it with another mech to give it rush because of the magnetic. But that's... I don't know. I don't think it's very good. I'm going to go with like a 4, though, because sometimes you'll charge out like something insane. You're like, Poggers! Maybe, that might be too high. Let's go with 3.5. Yeah. Oh my god, Auto Barber has come back to us, but it's now called a toxicologist, yeah. 2 mana, 2/2, so we're in the neutrals, by the way, if anyone was wondering. Battlecry, give your weapon +1 attack. This is a card where it's hard to give it 1 rating for all classes, because obviously in Rogue it's just broken, or it's very good. In other weapon classes it gets a little bit of a bump, but, you know, if you're looking at it as an overall card, it's probably below average, right? In Rogue, it's above average. In Rogue, if I was giving this card a rating just for Rogue, it's probably in the like an 8 or something, or maybe even higher, 8.5. But overall, I would say it's a below average card because it's oftentimes just a 2 mana 2/2. So let's say it's like a. We're just keeping 3.5. I just like that number. It's a 3.5 too. Okay. All right. Upgradable Framebot. 2 mana 1/5. Card's a bit scary because it's got a lot of health, so it's going to be hard to remove this card before your opponent can interact with it with a magnetic effect, or, you know, well, mainly a magnetic effect, or just other buff cards. So, very good card. Still, if you don't have a combo with it, then it's kind of whatever. But I think because it's going to be hard to remove, I'd say this is like a 7.5. It's between a 7.5 and an 8. Let's go with 7.5. But, yeah, it's a good card. Bronze Gatekeeper. So this is what all of Twitch chat is in League of Legends. Okay, sorry. 3 mana 1/5. Magnetic Taunt Mech. Magnetic and Taunt is kind of a good combo, because if you combine this, let's say, with that can't be targeted card, for example, then you're able to actually make it relevant because it does Taunt. On its own, 1 attack is pretty underwhelming. So it still needs a little bit of setup. But I like the fact that it gives Taunt. So I'd say to me, this is a very average card. Because you don't want to play a 3 mana 1/5. So I would say maybe a little bit above average. I'm going to go with like a 5.5. All right. Electrorite. 3 mana 3/3. Battlecry if you're holding a spell that costs 5 or more, gain +1/1. So in the best case scenario, you play a 3 mana 4/4, which is very, very good. A 3 mana 3/3 isn't the end of the world, so it's definitely an above average card. How often are you going to have a 5-cost spell in your hand? Pretty rarely. So I don't think it's going to proc all that often, but when it does, it's really good. A Hildner without the freeze effect. So I would say this card is like a 7. Let's go with a 7. A lot of it depends on how likely, like the class you're playing, how likely it is that you can proc it. Kaboom Bot. 3 mana 2/2 mech. Death Rattle, deal 4 damage to a random enemy minion. 4 damage to a random enemy minion. So again, like that other card we were looking at, it's kind of like the Elemental, the 1/1, except this one can't be pinged, which makes it better. It makes it quite a bit better, because that's a problem with that card. They just ping it and they don't care. Here they have to have an answer for it. I think it's a pretty good card. I think it's above average. How much above average? But in theory, this thing can do 6 damage to something, right? So I think it's good. I'm gonna go with like a 6.5. In the best case, you drop this, you throw it into a 6 health creature, and then it kills it. Sometimes it won't be that good. Another card I think is really good. So Spring Rocket, 3 mana, 2/1 mech, Battlecry, deal 2 damage. I don't know. I just have a appreciation for cards that deal damage and also develop a body. A 2/1 isn't the best body, but it comes 1 turn before Fire Plume Phoenix, which can be a really big deal. Your opponent doesn't really want to ping on 4, so we talked about it a little bit yesterday. Like, it's Argent Horse Rider, but it's better because it can go through a taunt. So whatever that card is, it's better than that. I think it's a really good card. I'm gonna say this is an 8. And how important it is to try to keep people off the board, right? In what the meta looks like it's gonna be, I think it's really good. Okay. Whirly Glider, 2 mana, 2/1. Battlecry, summon a 0/2 Goblin Bomb. So it's bad. Yeah. 2/1, so it can get pinged. Goblin Bomb, yeah. Definitely below average card. How much below? It's pretty below average. I'm gonna say it's a 3. Brainstormer. 3 mana, 3/1, Battlecry, gain +1 health for each spell in your hand. It's going to be really hard to proc. It's bad. It's really bad. Like, you might be able to proc it twice. Wow, a 3 mana, 3/3. It's a 1. I'm going to go with a 1 on this one. It's really bad. Bad card. Bad card. Coppertail Imposter. 4 mana, 4/4 mech. Battlecry, gain stealth until your next turn. I think this card's quite good. With all the mech synergy stuff, being able to have it stick on the board for 1 turn and guarantee a magnetic effect or something like that means it's going to be really annoying. And there's a lot of mech cards, a lot of magnetic cards, so definitely an above average card for me. And even just playing a 4 mana 4/4 isn't the worst thing that they can't interact with. So I would say this card is I'm going to go with a 7. And I think that's because it's also going to trigger me. Like, oh, he's playing that mech I can't interact with, even though I'm ahead on the board. Here comes Magnetic. Not that I would get salty. I never get salty, but yeah. Okay. Explodinator. 4 mana, 3/2 mech. Battlecry, summon 2 0/2 Goblin Bomb. So kind of like the Glider card. Not very good. Yeah, it's more bodies on the board, but they're not really the kind of bodies you want on the board. So I'm going to say this card is a 4 mana 3/2. That's pretty bad. I'm going to say a 3.5. Piloted Reaper. Not quite Piloted Shredder. We all remember that. The good old day. It was some kind of day. 4 mana 4/3. Death Rattle, summon a random minion from your hand that costs 2 or less. So it doesn't give you a bunch of value like Piloted Shredder did, obviously. That card was broken. You do get to pick the 2-drops that you have in your deck. So on average, the 2-drops are going to be better than the average 2, although some 2-drops have positive battle cries and things like that. So it's probably another card where you're not really going to want to kill it. You want to make your opponent kill it. But I would say it's slightly above average because there's a good chance you have a 2-drop in your hand. And if you do, then it is good tempo. So I'm going to go with like a 5.5. Not 35.5. 5.5. Okay. Steel Rager. The return of the Rager cards, chat. And this one's actually not a bad one. 4 mana, 5/1 rush. So it reminds me a lot of the Swift Messenger card. That one is oftentimes best when you can use it in the uproot position when it's a 6/2. This is 1 less attack. But in the 1 health doesn't really matter all that much for that. So I think it's a good card. And definitely above average. Yeah, it's a good card. I would say it's like a How good? I guess 6.5. It's a good card. All right. Rusty Recycler. 5 mana, 2/6 mech with Lifesteal and Taunt. You can get Kodoed. It is another card where you really want to use, like you want to have Magnetic hit on it or something. Wally. It's on its own, it's pretty bad. So I think it deserves a pretty weak rating in my opinion. I guess it does have Lifesteal though. How valuable is Lifesteal? That does boost it a bit. Taunt and Lifesteal. But a 4 mana 2/6 isn't even that good on its own. So I'm gonna say this is like a 5.5. Lifesteal could be relevant. All right, War Gear. 5 mana, 5/5 Magnetic. So 5/5 is fine. With the Magnetic effect, we were talking about this quite a bit yesterday, and people were really high on this card because it's like a King's, well, a little better than a King's, let's say, or basically a King's. Like you play 1 more mana and you get +1/+1 over King's. But if you're playing it just as a 5/5, then it's just kind of fine. I don't know. I don't think it's as good as some people have made it out to be, but I think it is a good card. I'm going to go with like a 7.5. But show me its power. Show me that it's amazing. I don't know. Play like the 1/5. I mean, there are some pretty good combos with it, I guess. All those high health minions. Okay, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna go to an 8. But I'm not going any higher than that. That's it. 8. Done. It is a good card. Damaged Stegatron. 6 mana, 5/12 mech. Taunt, Battlecry, deals 6 damage to this minion. So, worst case, it's a 6 mana Pit Fighter with Taunt. 6 mana, 5/6. Which isn't bad. And if you resummon it like a priest can, or pull it from your deck or something, then it can be really nasty. So I think it's like a average to maybe a little bit above average card. So I would say it's like a 6. It's not really not that bad. Okay. Bulldozer. So we talked about it again yesterday, but this feels a lot like Force Tank Max to me. Big guy with Divine Shield. 9 mana means you can't use your hero power with it, which is a little rough. But it's a big guy, and if you're playing it's not a ping class and they don't have something on the board, it can be really annoying to deal with Divine Shield. So it's obviously slow, it doesn't have taunt, it doesn't impact the board immediately. It's no North Sea Kraken or anything like that, but it's a decent card. I would say it's like a 4. I'm going to go with a 4. All right. Cloak Scale Chemist. Take some more water. Don't want to lose the voice. 4 is decent. 4 is slightly below average. Yeah. Okay. Cloak Scale Chemist. 2 mana, 1/2 Stealth Divine Shield. Not a mech, thank God, because that would be really nasty. 1 attack isn't a lot, but I think it's okay. In certain classes, it obviously is better than others, but 5? I think it's a 5. Is that too high? What was Silverhand Knight? Is it whatever the Shush card is? Silent Knight. That's Silverhand Knight. I'll go with 4.5. 4.5. Sure. All right. Micro Tech Controller. 3 mana, 2/1. Battlecry summon 2 1/1 Microbots. I think this card's pretty good. It obviously reminds you of like Ignapper, but you get the 1/1s immediately, which sometimes is better, sometimes is worse. But it's a lot of spread because you get mechs. I don't think they have them here. The Microbots are just 1/1s, right? Yeah, it says there. Okay. So two mech bodies into 2/1. It's going to be annoying to clear. I think it's definitely above average. I would say this is like a 7.5. And it's a premium in like Paladin, for example. Galvanizer. 2 mana, 1/2 mech. Battlecry, reduce the cost of mechs in your hand by 1. It's bad. It's a constructed card, if anything. These reduce the cost, just are rarely worth it in Arena. So I'd say 2, if that. Okay. You see all the comments about why isn't the scale 9.4? Because we gotta make it easy for everyone to read, you know? Not everything can be 9.4. Okay. Spark Engine. 2 mana, 2/1 mech. Battlecry, add a 1/1 spark with rush to your hand. So again, these stupid spark cards, I just feel like they're not that good. Like, you play a 2/1 and you get this spark card in your hand. Like, big freaking deal. I think it's bad. I'm gonna say it's like a 3. 3? So it reminds me a little bit of the rogue card, except it's a 2/1 instead of a 2/2. The one that adds a lasher, right? The pedal. I'll say 2.5. And also, thank you, Frosty Koala, for the sub. I have all the alerts turned off, but I will give you a good grunt after the review. All right. We're getting there. We're almost done, I think. Unpowered Mauler. 2 mana, 2/4. Can only attack if you cast a spell this turn. Again, bad. Really bad. I would just ignore this and make my opponent have a spell to be able to attack with it, right? So it's a really bad card. Is a 2/4, and some people will be bad and will actually kill it for you. But I'm going to go with a 1.5. Oh, boy. Yeah. So this card is really going to be annoying. Speaking of annoying, it summons Annoytrons. 5 mana, 2/1. Summon, Battlecry, summon 2 1/2 mechs with Taunt and Divine Shield. So that's a lot of stats on the board spread out. It's 4 power, which isn't that insane, but 2 Divine Shields, 2 mechs. It's really good. Oh, God. And you can't remove all of that, right? So I'd say this card is a 9. Not quite 9.4 level, but it's very good. Okay. Replicating Menace. 4 mana, 3/1 mech. Death Rattle, summon 3 1/1 microbots. So kind of similar to that other card. The 3/1 that summons 2 1/1s. This is a 3/1 that summons, or that was a 2/1? Whatever, what was that other card? This one, yeah. A 2/1 that summons 2 1/1 microbots. So this is a 4 mana, 3/1 that summons 3 1/1 microbots. So it's susceptible to AoE, but it's still really annoying to clear. Like, you need to have AoE on this, right? So I think this card's good. Like, it's more expensive, but it's still good. Microbots are mechs. Yeah, all of the bots are mech cards. Strictly worse than Egg? No, I mean, because you get the bodies immediately. Can push more damage. Oh, it's Death Rattle. Sorry. Oh, this is Death Rattle. Reading. Haha, reading. Oh. Yeah. Okay, it's not that good. It's still, I think it's still a decent card. Like, I would say it's an average card. It does have magnetic. Oh. Dude, all this reading. This expansion requires a lot of reading. Okay, I'm going to go with like a 5.5. Because it has magnetic and, and it's okay. Interesting. Okay. Arcane Dynamo. 6 mana, 3/4. Battlecry, discover a spell that costs 5 or more. So I was thinking about this card some in the shower today. Because we talked about yesterday how it's in a very high bucket. So Blizzard clearly thinks it's really good or it could be problematic. I wasn't believing it yesterday. But today I could kind of see it. Because the problem with this card is, if you just go through classes and think of what spells are 5 or more, most of them are pretty good, and most of them are very high impact. That's why they're expensive. So, Mage, like, sure, you could get the Glacial Mysteries, but Flame Strike, Pyroblast, Blizzard, Priest, it's like, you have the Free from Amber, the Mind Control, the Scream, etc. So there's certain classes that it's going to be really annoying in. You can't play it on the turn that you that you play this, thank God. So I think that means, that makes it not super broken. You don't get a reduction on the cost of the spell. You still have to pay the full cost. But yeah, I think it is a good card, but I still think they overbucketed it a little bit. I'm going to go with it's an 8. But I think the way they bucketed it, they have it as like maybe a 9. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Mechanical Whelp. Well, priests are going to love this card. I really hope they drop the chances to get Shadow Madness in the next expansion. 6 mana, 2/2, Death Rattle, summon a 7/7 Mechanical Dragon. So if you're not playing against Priest, you get a split body 9/9. It's kind of slow, but getting a 7/7 out of it is pretty good. I think it's an above average card, but man, it's very vulnerable to silence, and Priest would just destroy you. So yeah, I would say it's like a. Is it even above average? I guess. I don't know. It's in the average range. Let's go with like a 5.5. Okay. There it is. Look at that dragon. Girl, look at that dragon. Whoops, you guys couldn't see it as well as me. I work out. Missile Launcher. 6 mana, 4/4 mech. With Magnetic, at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all other characters. So it's a Dreadlord that costs 1 more mana, but does the damage to everything. It does have Magnetic, which gives it a bit of a bump. 1 damage to all is... It's a bit weird. It's a weird card. I don't think it's bad, because AoE on a stick is rarely bad. But I think it is above average, but not that much. I'm going to go with a 6.5. Because then once you develop it on the board, then it's going to be hitting your board, and then, I don't know. It's interesting card. Spark Drill. This is a 6 mana 5/1 mech. With Rush, the Death Rattle is add 2 1/1 sparks with Rush to your hand. So again, with these sparks, which maybe it's just going to be a constructed thing, but like this just feels a lot worse to me than the 4-cost card, which is also a 5/1, but I don't get 2 sparks in my hand. Like, it seems pretty bad. I'm going to say it's like a 2.5. Still can be removal. I mean, 5 damage for 6 mana with some, let's say, combo activators or whatever isn't the worst, but it's not good. And I can't go face, right? Yeah, Rush. It's not charge. Crystallizer. 1 mana, 1/3. Battlecry, deal 5 damage to your hero, gain 5 armor. Ooh, so this card with the Warlock 3-drop. You could have a 6/5 on turn 4 with a 1/3. They are. So Sparks are mechs. Yep, they are. Yep. It's not the effect is going to be positive unless it kills you. I'm assuming with the wording of it, it deals the damage first. So if you're at 4, then it would kill you. But in general, it's pretty good. It's definitely an above average card. The 1/3 body is pretty good. There's some combos that will be great with it. Warrior could be good with it, right? Oh, Sparks are elementals, not mechs? Okay. Okay. All right. Now go back to the 3 mana 1/5. So I think this is above average card. Let's go with like an 8. It's good though. It's quite good. All right. How are we doing here? Augmented Elec. 1 second. Augmented Elec. So, 3 mana, 3/4. So it's a spider tank body. It also has the beast tag. Whenever you shuffle a card into a deck, shuffle an extra copy. That effect is basically nothing to me. I don't think it will very rarely be relevant at all for Arena. It does get a little bit of a boost because it's a beast tag, so whatever a spider tank is, which is above average, it's a little bit better than that, but it's really not much more than a spider tank. So what's a spider tank? 7 to 7.5 range? Yeah, I think 7's fine. From what I've seen, spider tank body will still be very good on 3. Some more Omega. I heard you guys liked Omega, so we put some Omega with your Omega. This is Omega Defender. It's a 4-mana 2/6 taunt. Battlecry, if you have 10 mana crystals, gain plus 10 attack. So on turn 10 plus, you play a 4-mana 12/6. Obviously, it's really good. A 2/6 isn't the worst. Drafting a Stegodon doesn't feel that bad. I'm going to go with like a 8.5? 8 to 8.5 range. Let's go with 8.5. I think it's very good. Omega lol. All right. Weaponized Pinata. 4 mana 4/3. Death Rattle, add a random legendary minion to your hand. I think this card's quite strong. Like, if you remember the Thief of Futures card from Taverns of Time, that gave you some information about your opponent's deck, but the 4/3 body is pretty relevant, and sometimes you get a legendary that wins you the game. So I think this card is very, very good, and honestly, I think an 8.5 is a fair rating for that. We'll just keep it as an 8.5. Seems fair. Oh boy. Just making a note. So, this is this expansion's version of Dragon Slayer or Galaka Crawler. But luckily, I hate those cards. I think the design of them for Arena is just really bad. But this card is much better than those because, well, it's worse power level, but a better design because at least you have to pay a lot for it. So, you're paying, it's basically 2 mana for the effect. 3/3, but you're paying 5 mana for this to kill a mech. Sometimes it will still be really good, and there's a lot of... If your opponent goes all in on a mech, this is that card where it can still really swing the game. So I think it is a good card with a number of mechs, but not insane. I'm going to go with like a 7. I think 7's fair. Because if it doesn't hit, then it's going to feel really bad. So you guys are going to sit there. Holomancer, 5 mana 3/3. After your opponent plays a minion, summon a 1/1 copy of it. If they can't remove it, it could be annoying for them. But it's really understated. So, yeah. And if they play like an ogre, you get a 1/1. You could silence a 1/1, but it requires a lot of setup to be good, and you have to be winning, and they have to not have removal, etc., etc. I think it's a really bad card. I'm gonna go with a 3. Trace. Seaphorium Bomber. 5 mana 5/5. Battlecry. Shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck. When drawn, it explodes for 5 damage. Very rarely will that 5 damage matter, but it will feel really bad to lose to. It's still a 5/5, which is fine. In an aggressive class, it could be okay. It's basically a 5/5 with a little bit of upside, which to me would be like a 6, I guess. Somewhere in that range. It's a fine card. Loose Specimen. I really like the design of this card. So it's a 5 mana 6/6. Battlecry deals 6 damage, randomly split among other friendly minions. So if you're behind, it's a 5 mana 6/6, which is great. But in every other case, it's going to be a little bit weird. Like if you're even and you're able to trade off the board evenly, then it's good. Sometimes you might need to throw your minions into your opponent's minions, and then it's getting a little bit worse. But I think it's Yeah, it's an interesting card. If it was like a 6-7, like a little more health, I think it'd be really good. But as it is, I would say it's average to below average. So I'm going to go with like a 4, 4.5, 4.5. Maybe 4. I'm going to go with 4. These cards that require like your board to be empty can be a little bit weird. So I don't know. I like the card, though. I like the design of it. I think it's an interesting card. But yeah. Starliner. 7 mana, 7/7. If you control 3 minions with 7 health, deal 7 damage to all enemies. So this is never in a Pocket Arena. Almost never. It has to be exactly 7 health, right? Do we have confirmation on that? It has to be exactly 7? I guess it would say 7 health or more otherwise, right? Yeah, it's a 7 mana, 7/7. So whatever a War Golem is, which is bad. So like a 3. What's War? Maybe a 3.5. Is a War Golem a 3.5? Something like that. Okay. Whiz Bang the Wonderful. Not an arena. Fun card, though. And, I like that this is a card, but doesn't affect arena. Harbinger Celestia. 4 mana, 5/6, as if that matters. Stat line. Stealth. After your opponent plays a minion, become a copy of it. What? Huh? What? I'm not sure what the idea of this card is, really, but it's really bad. Because it's just really bad. It's like a mirror entity, but that you pay 4 mana for, and they know it's a mirror entity. So that's not a very good card. It's a 1. I'm not going to go below 1s, but it's really bad. Okay. Subject 9. 5 mana, 4/4 beast. Battlecry. Draw 5 different secrets from your deck. 5 different secrets from your deck. So I talked about it a little bit yesterday. If you do go all in on Spellstone, then, and it can be kind of fun. On average, it's going to be... Obviously, it's only good... Wait, this is a neutral card? It seems like a weird card to be a neutral. I guess that we're getting more classes with secrets. Paladin, Rogue. Paladin, Rogue, Mage. Hunter, obviously. And if you do have it's hard to give a rating on this for all classes because it's just so different. If you don't have any secrets, and it's a 5 mana 4/4, so it's terrible. So for the classes without secrets, it's like a 2.5 maybe. But if you're a class that has secrets and you draft a couple of them, this could be really good. Pulling 2 secrets from your deck is really good. So on average, I would say it's like a 4 because maybe even lower, but like a 3.5, let's say. It just depends on the class. Okay. Ziliax. This is a legendary mech. One that people are a little worried about, and probably rightfully so. It's a 3 mana 3/2 with Magnetic, Divine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal, and Rush. Everything! Throw them all in there. All right, so... how valuable is having all of those things? It's pretty valuable. Combining with a mech on the board. Like, just a mech with a decent amount of health and stuff. Yeah, quite good. I would say it's at least an 8. Maybe more like a 9. Even if you play it on its own, it's not that bad. Yeah, it's a very good card. Yeah, I see. I think it's between 8 and 9. Well, I think 8.5 is fair. Sure. Okay. Mechathune. 10 mana, 10/10. Death Rattle. If you have no cards in your deck, hand and battlefield, destroy the enemy hero. It's in arena. It will never happen. It's a 1. I hate to... well, okay, again, I'll say these things about never going to happen, and someone will be like... actually, it's still a 10/10. Why am I saying it's a 1? I mean, it's still a body. Okay, let's go back. And it's a mech. Okay, let's step back. It's not a 1. That would be if it's like it didn't have stats. It's still a 10/10. Okay, let's reevaluate a little bit. How valuable is a 10/10? Like a 3? It's like a 3. Okay, let's go with 3. More arms. So that's just showing us a priest card. The more arms. This is the weapon from the 2/3. The 2/3 that, you equip weapons for each. So I think that's it. hopefully that's all of the cards, because,